Actually, I think I want to get Michael a 7 a.m. pep talk call.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That would be great. Just record some of that pep talk and I'll play it on my commute.
Was ready to do 20 push-ups right there again. That was amazing. Also, I want to big shout out to Marty. Thank you very much. It's always amazing to see a fellow Australian. There we go. It's amazing. You'll always find an Australian somewhere in the world. Doesn't matter where you are.
Yes, Manly is like one of my favorite places in the world. I've been to Sydney several times. In Manly Beach, never been. Like that's where it's at.
That's where it's at. It's a great place. Well, thanks everyone for joining. I'm going to do a quick kind of 15, 20-minute fireside chat here, and think of questions as we go along. But thank you actually for joining us. So you've ramped up and scaled loyalty programs, Starbucks, Amazon Prime, KFC Global, Pizza Hut. Also want to shout out, if you haven't seen Ashley's earrings, they are pizza earrings.
Oh, yes. I'm full in pizza now. 6 months in, I'm bought it.
I've already forgot about the 20 push-ups I want to do. I want to grab a slice of pizza. So what I thought would be, or we talked about, which would be great for folks to, in the audience to understand, is that there's this early stage part of the loyalty journey, and then there's also the more established stage of the loyalty journey. So actually, we really need to, in your experience, to share what have you learned from kind of things that stuck out to you around what is important in the early stages, but then also as you go along that loyalty journey, the more established stage, what is important to do best in class?
Yeah, and I think it's really important to think about, as you're developing a loyalty program, to think about all of those different stages. So a little background, you gave a little bit, but I think important context. I started my career in a very traditional marketing agency. I worked at Frito-Lay, PepsiCo, with Data, and a couple other folks here. And then I moved to Seattle and I worked for Starbucks for a while. Started off on the traditional retail marketing side, and at the time, one of my leaders said, hey, we need someone to like go infiltrate the digital team down in the basement, like they're building an app or something. Like marketing needs to figure out what they're doing down there. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And because I wanted to learn that side of the business, and I had never worked in the digital side of the business before. And I started creating those relationships, and it ended up with me, leading the Starbucks Rewards marketing team. At the time, we were launching Order Ahead, changing the program from a punch card program to a spin-based program, launching personalization, and then we launched the gamification platform. So it was just a really exciting time to be part of the organization and part of the team that was leading all of those efforts. But then I wanted to understand the art of the possible with the technology and learn the technology a little bit deeper. And so I went over to Amazon and worked on Amazon Prime for a while, doing some retention and acquisition. But I really missed food and beverage. I really missed QSR. I missed the retail space and that digital kind of mindset. And so I came to Yum about 5 years ago. I worked on KFC Global, launching digital growth, e-commerce, CRM, and loyalty for our 150 markets around the world, building that from scratch. And then now at Pizza Hut. So, I've seen every stage of loyalty, from like actually building it from scratch, which KFC didn't have a loyalty program, to redoing a loyalty program at Starbucks, to coming into something very established like Amazon Prime. And I think what's core and at the heart of all of it is really starting with a really strong foundation of what the loyalty program needs to do for your business. And I think we get really excited about the bright, shiny stuff with loyalty, and the partnerships and the opportunities that brings, but if at the core of it, you don't understand how it's going to impact the bottom line, then it's going to fall apart. And so you have to have a strong foundational understanding of your data, your customer data, what your customer behavior is today, and what you want to move in order to move the overall business forward, in order to have a foundational commercial architecture that's going to be successful, and then you can experiment and layer in and continue to grow it. But if the foundation isn't strong, just like a house, the whole thing is going to fall apart. And so, with more established loyalty programs that have that strong foundation, like American Airlines, like Amazon, that's when you can start to say, okay, what else can this do for the business? We started with a strong foundation and it's delivering consistent results, but they always have to be year ago, right? So then what else can it do for the business, like bring in new customers, attract and grow sales with less frequent flyers? And so I think that's where we're going to see a lot of evolution in loyalty in the future is through how finding ways in which loyalty can drive the business in new and innovative ways.
And what I love most about hearing you talk from an early stage perspective all the way to a more established stage is the vision. The foundation can be built, but it's also based on what is the end goal vision that we're all striving towards, because I think that's also very important for businesses to then focus around getting to that end point.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're building a program, because if you don't start with the vision,
right,
then you're going to probably put technology in place that isn't going to work for when you want to do innovative things. And I speak from experience on that. And so then you're like, oh, we have these ideas and we want to do this, and
right,
the system bought into it, and then the IT team is like, yeah, we can't do that. Our tech platform doesn't allow for that. So you start with a vision, and you bring in and start to build a MarTech stack that can help you in the short term, but that you can also, in partners that you can grow with to achieve that vision over time, you're able to get to that vision much, much more quickly.
Right. So wonderful overview. I think just the loyalty journey as a whole is really fascinating to that point of early to established. Zeroing in more on the app side perspective in the loyalty front, we know that it drives, especially from a QSR perspective, and even obviously from a travel standpoint, high purchase customers, loyalty, frequency of purchase. But I think it also plays such a bigger role in the path to purchase. Multiple iterations of touch points that the user comes back to time and time again. What have you seen across those different verticals of business that you worked on that drives that user stickiness, that really actually gets the user to engage on a frequency basis?
Yeah, I mean, first, it's the app can only do so much. If you don't have a strong product and you don't have a strong end experience, then it's going to be really hard for a loyalty program to drive any sort of stickiness if your product is bad and so it's delivered poorly, etc. From an app-specific standpoint, like first and foremost, it has to be easy.
Yep.
And so I think being maniacal on analyzing the experience and understanding where the customer pain points are and fixing those, because if it's slow or if they're not progressing, you can have the best loyalty program in the world, but they're gone. So you have to have that ease, and then you have to have that intuitive experience and continue to iterate on it and continue to test and learn. And then from a loyalty standpoint, it has to be embedded throughout the entire experience. So in the best and most successful loyalty programs, the loyalty program is synonymous with the app. And because that should be the best experience of your brand. And if you think of it that way, the people that are in my app are the epitome and the best experience they're going to have with this brand, then that drives a lot of other decisions from your value strategy. The best value should always be for them and always be in the app. Like Michael talked about earlier, exclusives, early access. So if you think about your app customers as loyalty customers and the ones that you want to retain and grow with, you should always ensure that they are having the best possible experience.
I'm so glad you used the words intuitive and reiterate that. There's definitely been, and I think we're all customers of different types of experiences within apps. And you can really tell the good ones in terms of the experiences that are highly intuitive and actually get better and better versus some of the experiences like, oh, I wish they would fix it. I wish they would fix it. And they actually don't, right? So having that refined around the experience, I think is so critical.
Yeah, I mean, what I would tell the teams around the world at KFC is, it doesn't matter. Customers are not comparing our app to other QSR apps. That's not what they're thinking about when they go into the KFC's app or Pizza Hut's app or even Starbucks app. They're not comparing it to Dunkin's app, or they are thinking about what their expectations are driven by all of their mobile engagement across industries, because they don't think like we do in terms of industries. And so when we were designing the app in the program at KFC, it was, hey, their opinions, their expectations of this experience are driven by Amazon, are driven by Netflix, are driven by the apps that are used, TikTok and Facebook. That's where intuition is created. And so customers don't care that Amazon has like 40,000 employees. Are we doing Amazon people here? Yeah? Okay. Yeah, I'm exaggerating 40,000, but I think in SIA, I think that's how they union it is around 20,000. But there's teams of people that are constantly looking at every single click. How do I optimize conversion at every single touch point? And it's a lot of people. And they don't care that they have 20,000 people looking at all of that and how do I optimize the experience, and we have one whose sole job it is to build a better experience. And so the customers don't care, and so we have to figure out how to do that and how to do it well, and it's difficult.
Such great points. One of the things I love doing our kind of prep call and conversation, and I know guys, this may everyone stay awake, but it was holistic measurements. And having different measurement platforms to do certain things when we talk about, and then your local measurement platform from a app perspective, your CDR, CDP from a CRM platform, your CDP platform. These are all working in isolation to a degree. But how have you done, or what was your experience in bringing these all together to have an informed view for the business and to make effective kind of decisions?
Yeah, so we're still in the middle of the journey. Michael mentioned that we have 100 million records, which is a third of the U.S. population, in our database, but we didn't have a CDP until last year. And so we're still in the journey. We have all of the right pieces of the puzzle in place, but I joke that sometimes I feel that, like Michael and I feel at Pizza Hut, that we've got all of the pieces of the puzzle laying around us. We just need to put it together. And so we're in the middle of that journey right now. But it's important that you have the pieces first. You have to have the right MarTech stack to get that holistic picture, because only then are you going to really be able to make sound business decisions of, hey, where do I prioritize my time and where do I prioritize my resources based on where I'm going to see the biggest impact to the business.
Because I think we hear that quite a bit around, hey, we've got this measurement solution or we're measuring this way, but holistically, it's kind of like, yes, how do you take those pieces and actually make a holistic informed decision? And I think that's a road that a lot of businesses still have. Success stories. I think everyone loves a good success story. We've talked about one from the Starbucks and gamification. I think I'd love for you to share that with the crowd.
Yeah, I think, it's really, when you see loyalty programs do something like really cool and innovative, it's really easy to kind of fall into that trap of like that Me Too trap of like, oh, we can do that. Let's do gamification because it's, let's build a game because it's awesome and it's going to provide a lot of buzz, and then you do it and not a lot of people play it, and then you're like, wait, what did this do for the business?
Right.
And so how the gamification platform started at Starbucks was really fairly straightforward. The team prior had done just like a scratch-off instant win kind of mechanic for Starbucks for Life, and it did like nothing for the business except maybe drive a little bit of acquisition. And so the challenge from the CMO to me was, hey, this is during the holiday timeframe, we need to drive transactions. How do you, but because we got a lot of earned media and we drove a lot of traffic, there was something in the nomenclature of Starbucks for Life that was attracting customers to the brand, but how do we actually evolve it to drive transactions? So we had one KPI that we were marching after, and when you have that aligned on goal of like, okay, we know what this needs to do for the business, then you have kind of a path to go down. And I think what we did, I was new to digital, and so was my creative partner at the time. And so we actually just started doing research. We read white papers on behavioral psychology, on gamification, and what is it that impacts behavior? Because ultimately, when you're driving transactions, that's what you're doing. You're trying to impact customer behavior and people's behavior. And so we researched and we did it all on our own. Like, I think I still have the white papers because it's really good to kind of go back and really study behavioral psychology. If you want to be a loyalty expert, you should be studying behavioral psychology because that's essentially what you're doing. And that ended up how we got to that first game. And then I said, we built a platform, and now there's like one every quarter, there's a new game.
I just love the behavioral psychology piece. That's great. Wow. Okay. Role of partnerships. Been very big in the last few years, and it's just part of loyalty in general. But I think you had a great point of view on short-term versus long-term on where those will go. Love for you to share that with the crowd.
Well, partnerships are hard, and I think you heard a little bit about it with the panel with Aaron mentioning that you have to find the right brand fit. And if you're looking at long-term partnerships are extremely difficult and risky because what if something happens? What if you partner with a company and they have something horribly goes wrong? And it'll impact, that'll have that halo effect and impact your brand. Or what if you partner with an athlete and then all of a sudden they get hurt? And they're no longer able to do for your brand what you had forecasted for that partnership to do. So if you're starting out in partnerships, starting with kind of short-term first to kind of test your way into, hey, what is going to have the biggest impact is really, really important. And I think that's going to be, honestly, I think partnerships and between loyalty programs and between brands, in my opinion, is the future of loyalty. We're starting to see that with what Dana shared earlier, with what American Airlines is doing. We're starting to see that in the hotel space as well. Starbucks' partnership with Delta. Like, we're starting to see that these things pop up, and I think we're going to see that more and more. And so understanding and building a partnership strategy for your brand, even if it's not something that you action on in the next 12 months, but understanding like who are the right partnerships that are going to help me acquire a new customer set into my brand, who are the partnerships that align with us on our core values and what we stand for as companies, and starting to kind of build that partnership strategy is going to be really important to establish that you can vet and create partnerships that will benefit you in the long term.
One more question from my side before we open it up to the group. But has there been, or what is the perspective in your mind around AI and how that will impact whether the QSR category specifically or even loyalty in general?
I mean, I think it's going to be critical. So if you think about loyalty, really it's a value exchange. It's a value equation. Customers are willing to give you their data and their information, but with that comes high expectations. First, they expect you to safeguard it and keep it protected. And second, they expect you to actually use it. Like, customers aren't stupid. They know that you're tracking their behavior, you're tracking all of their transactions, and they're okay with that. But in return, they expect you to provide personalized recommendations. They expect you to know when they just purchased from you and not send them an offer a day later on the same thing that you just purchased. And they get really frustrated by it. And so, but doing all of that personalization is a lot of work. It takes a lot of creative resources, it takes a lot of strategic resources, it takes a lot of analytical resources, and the reality is a lot of us don't have the budgets to have a team of 1,000 people driving all of this personalization, and that's where AI is going to fit in.
What a great insight. I mean, we've heard about personalization across the morning already, so to have that point of view that actually where the gap from an AI perspective can solve for, and to your point, like make it an even more seamless and enhanced customer experience, then that's great for the system for the program.
Yeah, and the way I think about it is like we still need to own the strategy. We need to be the brains behind the brand, feeding the machine, but I don't think AI is going to replace a ton of jobs. It is going to change the type of jobs that are important for us to have internally. Let the machine do all of the tactical executional work of determining who gets what message, while the strategy stays with us as owners and stewards of the brand.
Totally. I want to open it up to the crowd. Does anyone have any questions for Ashley? Outside of where you can also get pizza earrings?
Amazon, obviously.
Yes, in the back.
Hi, I've also worked with pizza huts. It's a little question, but I think one thing that we've seen a lot of talking about recently as we think about value construct is value is starting to mean different things to different people. I think that means that we always jump to lowest price. And so I'm curious, the work that you've done about consumer loyalty, and how do you take confidence and definition of value and what that means?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's critical that you think of your app loyalty customers as part of that value equation. And so in QSR, at least at Yum, we think of value in terms of disruptive value, and that is offers that just go out to everyone. And then you have, and especially this is especially important in QSR, you have everyday value, and that's what keeps your customers. So disruptive value attracts customers and brings them to you. Everyday value is something that you consistently have on your menu that keeps people coming back because they know they're going to get a good deal. Think about Taco Bell's cravings menu. We have $7 deal lovers. Something that just drives frequency. Personalized value is then the next layer below that, and that drives frequency as well, but in a very much more relevant space because $7 deal lovers might not work for someone who lives alone. They don't want to have to order 2 medium pizzas, but when we have something like My Hot Box at $6.99, and we can target them and bring them in and bring them more often because that's relevant to them. And so I think it's important to think about from a strategic standpoint where all those levers are. And then what tends to happen is as you get really strong in personalized value and as you get really strong in everyday value to drive transactions, you can do less disruptive value from a mass standpoint and really start to think about value more holistically as a brand of how do I bring in partnerships or how do I bring in collaborations to drive people in, to kind of elevate the thinking and the reverence of the brand, and not have to just compete on price to drive people in. Yes?
How are you prioritizing and utilizing an app to really drive that loyalty?
Great question. The question was how are you prioritizing the app to drive loyalty? App first and foremost. We're even having debates right now of whether you can do loyalty outside the app. So if you look at, I think McDonald's is doing a great job of this. In order to get exclusive offers in the app, you have to be part of their rewards program. They're constantly releasing new items, new structured concerts. But you have to be part of the program in order and on the app in order to have access to all of these things. I think that is great for if you're driving app acquisition. I think we're in a little bit of a different space where we have, 70% of our business is digital, right? We have a lot of app penetration, so acquisition isn't always the primary goal from a mass strategy standpoint. So then the question becomes hey, do we do the same thing and have loyalties live exclusively on the app, or is it just the best experience of loyalties in the app, but you can still be part of the program if you call it? Those are the decisions that we're actively trying to think through as a brand. And so I think it depends on, you have to think about your own business structure and what your priorities are and what you need to achieve as a business today. And then you can always evolve and start to drive more exclusivity in the app in the future.
Thanks, everyone. Round of applause to Ashley, please.